Hello, my name is Amari, and this is our summary review of Dave Chappelle The Dreamer, which is currently available on Netflix. So, like many comedians, Dave Chappelle pretty much speaks about what he's known and what he has experienced, and because in the last couple of years his life and experience has been about drawing controversy, and that leads to him getting a lot of free marketing, and of course Netflix still cutting him checks, he doubles down on it. So in this special, there's still trans jokes, mainly trans men. He doesn't really take much aim at trans women, surprisingly. But I guess, he's trying to show himself as equal opportunity. That aside, he not only talks about the trans community, he now throws in disabled people, specifically one of the former congressmen who is from one of the Carolinas, I think, and making jokes at his expense, and of course doing other jokes about disabled people. But outside of that, he also makes jokes about the whole Chris Rock situation. He references his own situation that happened at the Hollywood Bowl. I think he says about 3 months after. And in time, he starts to get a little bit more serious and gets to the type of storyteller that most have come to love. He talks about working on something with HBO before his first special, Killing Them Softly, how his wife handled the whole situation with the Hollywood Bowl, and then eventually he talks about his life being a dreamer since he was 14 to reach this point as a 50-something-year-old man. And yes, admittedly, through that whole arc, it's easy to get caught up in the beginning and then never mind the middle and the end. But truly the way that this ends reminds you that as much as you can tell Chappelle courts controversy, at the same time, it's only because he knows whether you're a big outlet or a small outlet, you'll talk about him and market his product probably more than Netflix will. And, to keep them checks coming, somebody got to make sure this special is known about. So get into the review. To me, despite a lot of the things that get said, I'm still very much a Chappelle fan. But at this point, I kind of acknowledge that when it comes to him, he knows that when it comes to the court of public opinion, when it comes to online publications or even print publications that still exist, he is never going to be the darling that he used to be when he did the Chappelle Show. He's now in this place where you see Adam Sandler and a few others where he knows his audience is strong enough where he can do what makes him comfortable, and he doesn't need to worry about winning over new fans. So when it comes to focusing on trans men and disabled people, he outright says in a special he only needs a few thousand people to laugh, or a few hundred, maybe even less, if there's 20,000 people in the audience. He's aiming for the people that are willing to laugh with him, not the ones who are waiting for him to say something to criticize. And unfortunately, that means that, when it comes to the special, he has to start off with the things that get the marketing. But thankfully, as we noted in the summary, once he does his trans jokes, his disabled jokes, even some jokes at Chris Rock's expense, then he starts getting into the heart of the matter, talking about why this is called The Dreamer. He gets you to a place where you feel like this wasn't just about a money grab, but he really had something to say. And setting aside the whole thing that happened with HBO where he almost got killed by a Russian mobster, one of the things I really thought were interesting was his take on Lil Nas X. Now, yes, Lil Nas X is part of the many LGBT plus jokes that he makes. And he does note early in the special that he does like punching down, but he says it very sarcastically. He does not really mean it. But getting to Lil Nas X situation, he jokes about how gay openly Lil Nas X is. And in terms of The Dreamer, he talks about how when he was trying to get his first stand-up special done, how he had such a big dream and was so earnest about it that a Russian mafia man could recognize it, and when Chappelle was willing to humble himself, he didn't get harmed in that situation. So when it came to Lil Nas X, as much as you can say that Chappelle's been in the industry longer, is probably a bigger name in terms of recognition and how much money he could easily make. When he was in Lil Nas X presence, he can see this gay black boy from the South. His dream was much bigger than Chappelle's at that moment, and he was just simply part of it. And he didn't have to willingly humble himself; he just had no choice to. And in some ways, you can understand that. As much as Chappelle can easily come off as a controversial figure, he reminds you that, as controversial as many may say that he is, when people tried to jump him at the Hollywood Bowl, Jamie Foxx and a whole bunch of others, including Jon Stewart, came to his aid. Nobody came to Chris Rock's aid when he got jumped in front of the world at the Oscars. Chappelle's jumping wasn't televised. Chris's was, but yet Chris got smacked in the face, sent off to the side, and then Will Smith got to enjoy his night and win his Oscar. And granted, his career got put into a pause right after, but as shown by, I believe, Bad Boys 4 coming out this year, and who knows what else may be coming down the line, all Will Smith did is guarantee himself a vacation. But not to go too deep into what happens in the special, but I think the main point is with this whole thing and why we consider this not a bad special whatsoever is that as much as the controversy is in the front end, in the back end, it becomes very reflective to the point where you can see Chappelle being probably one of the few comedians who know Chris Rock that isn't talking about traumatized and how much Will Smith kind of ruined comedy or some other nonsense. Instead, taking note of what happened with his wife being fearful after he got attacked, him getting attacked himself by this homeless person, and also all the controversy and issues he's had over the years. He makes it very much clear when it comes to both Will Smith and Chris Rock. He understands both of their positions, and whether it's the fact that Chris Rock had to remain in some type of decorum, finish his job, and then walk off stage, very much willing to cuss once he's off camera, or Will Smith, who, is a public figure who, as now well documented, was going through stuff with his wife, going through stuff internally, as noted in his book, and now on the grandest stage on what's going to be the biggest night of his career, a fellow black man decides to pick on him and his wife, and even if it is some light type of joke, basically be the final straw after a very long campaign, as Joaquin Phoenix, Anthony Hopkins, and others say about doing the Oscar campaign. He gets it, and I feel that it's a journey watching the Chappelle special, and I don't know, because of course he only comes out with one like every other year at this point, but I'm starting to wonder if at this point he is just following the pattern of give the newspapers, all the people what they need at the beginning, and then for those who truly came to see him, to hear what he has to say, laugh with him, not just criticize him, and really take something from his special, he waits to like the middle or end to really deliver on that part and get you to understand why he's considered one of the greatest of all times when it comes to comedy.